In this presentation we'll be looking at what you can do if you've been misled by a business in Hampshire. My name's Claire Bradley and I work for Europe Direct Eastleigh. Now Hampshire's a great county. You've got Beeston and New Forest, you've got the South Downs, you've got the big commercial centres in Portsmouth, Southampton, Winchester and Basingstoke. But despite all these advantages, far too many consumers in Hampshire are misled by local businesses. And the aim of this presentation is to inform Hampshire consumers what action they can take if they're misled by a business, as under EU and UK law, misleading consumers is actually a crime. These rules were introduced by the Unfair Commercial Practices Directive, which made these practices legal. It's an EU law. It was implemented into UK law by the Consumer Protection from Unfair Trading Regulations 2008. The regulations identified 31 commercial practices which were automatically unfair and also made it an offence for traders to either mislead consumers or to treat them aggressively. And the sanction for any business which indulges in those sorts of practices is a £5,000 fine and up to 2 years imprisonment, and the directors of the company can be held to be personally liable, i.e. it's them that goes to jail, and the company itself can also be prosecuted. So the rules cover misleading actions and misleading omissions. So what's a misleading action? A misleading action is one that contains false information and is therefore untruthful. So as soon as a business starts lying to you, they're falling foul of this. It's also a misleading action if it or its overall presentation in any way deceives or is likely to deceive the consumer, even if the information is factually correct, and it causes or is likely to cause the average consumer to take a transactional decision that they wouldn't otherwise have taken. Right, misleading actions applies to pretty much any aspect of the product, including the existence and nature of the product, the main characteristics of the product, the extent of the trader's commitments, the motives behind the commercial practice, the nature of the sales product, whether it's endorsed, whether directly or indirectly as part of a sponsorship deal, the price and the manner in which the price is calculated, the existence of a specific price advantage, the need for a service part or replacement. So if a trader tries saying to you, oh, you know, this is broken and it's going to need this expensive part and that expensive part, when in fact it doesn't, then that again falls foul of this. The nature, attributes and rights of the trader and also the consumer's rights under that particular contract. Now, misleading actions in relation to the main characteristics of the product cover things like availability, benefits, risks of the product, execution, composition, accessories, after-sale service, handling of complaints, the method and date of manufacture of the product, and the method and date of provision of the product. Misleading actions also cover the delivery of the product, the fitness for purpose of the product, its usage, quantity, specification, geographical or commercial origin, the results to be expected from the use of the product, and the results and material features of tests or other checks carried out on the product. So it covers pretty much everything. Misleading actions also cover when a trader is claiming that it's following a particular code of conduct when in fact it's not, or any marketing of a product, including comparative advertising, which creates confusion with any products, trademarks, trade names or other distinguishing marks of a competitor. So if you're trying to, say, pass off your products or create confusion in the mind of consumers by the marketing materials you put forward, then that's likely to fall foul of these rules. Now, misleading omissions are a bit different. A commercial practice, if it's a misleading omission, involves where the trader omits or hides information that the consumer needed in order to make an informed decision. So a misleading omission is where you failed to tell someone something that they needed to know in order to make an informed decision. A commercial practice is a misleading omission if the commercial practice provides material information in a manner which is unclear, unintelligible, ambiguous or untimely, which basically means you only found out about it after it would have been useful to actually know. So in the case of a product or even a service, what you're getting has to be clear, and if it's not clear, then that trader is breaking the law. Where commercial practice is an invitation to buy a product, you've got to be given the following information: the main characteristics of the product, the identity of the trader, which includes their trading name, and the identity of any other trader on whose behalf the trader is acting. So if they're acting as an agent, for example, then that has to be made clear. You also need to know the geographical address of the trader and the geographical of any other trader acting on the first trader's behalf. So you've got to know where to contact them, who you're dealing with, fundamentally. Right, where commercial practice is an invitation to buy a product, the following information must be provided. So the price, including any taxes, or where the nature of the product is such that the price can't reasonably be calculated in advance, the trader has to make clear how they're going to be calculating that price. Also, where appropriate, either any additional freight, delivery or postal charges, or where such charges can't reasonably be calculated in advance, the trader still has to flag that these charges may be payable. Where commercial practice is an invitation to buy, you also need to include this information: arrangements for payment, arrangements for delivery, arrangements for performance, complaint handling policy, and for products and services involving a right of withdrawal or cancellation, so that's usually online stuff, the existence of such a right. Now, if you've been misled by a business in any way, then the first place you should go to is actually trading standards, as they're under a duty to act. Hampshire Trading Standards can be contacted at Montgomery House, Monarch Way, Winchester, SO22 5PW. The phone number is 01962 833 620, or you can email tsadvice@hants.gov.uk. Now, consumers in Hampshire can get further advice by contacting the Citizens Advice Consumer Service, which provides free, confidential and impartial advice on consumer issues. Their web address is www.adviceguide.org.uk. If you want to call them, their number is 03 454 040506. You're obviously also welcome to contact us at European Law Monitor if you've got any further questions regarding the content of the videos. Now, in 2014, the law was updated, and now consumers can bring a private right of redress against businesses who use aggressive or misleading commercial practices. So the right of private redress doesn't apply to financial services, real estate, apart from assured tenancies and leases relating to holiday lets, nor does it apply to credit agreements. So if a consumer has been the victim of a misleading commercial practice and decides to exercise their private right of redress, they can claim the following remedies. They can unwind a contract and get the money back, which ends the contract. They can get a discount on the price that they paid, but the contract still stands. And they can claim damages for detriment caused, so that's things like distress and obviously any losses that you've incurred as a result of being misled. If a consumer would rather not exercise their private right of redress, because obviously they'll have to pay for that, then they can contact the regulator, such as Trading Standards, who then has the option to bring a criminal prosecution against the trader under Consumer Protection from Unfair Trading Regulations 2008. Now, these EU rules are really powerful. This was the biggest shake-up in consumer law that we've had for 40 years. Right, and it really puts consumers who are treated in an unfair, misleading or aggressive way in a very strong position, as very few traders are prepared to actually go to prison for 2 years for such behaviour. So if you're being misled by a business or a trader in Hampshire, then enforce your rights, because the law is there to protect you. Thank you.